God's wonderful blessing, and I discovered that I did believe in the Book of Mormon, and I had plenty of time to read and everything while I had pneumonia. So in February, when I was fully recovered, Keith and I were taken to Fresno, and we were baptized. At that time, President Oscar McConkie was mission president of all of Southern California, and I remember it was probably a conference where I remember both he and his wife were speaking. We weren't there very long at Avenel till Daddy had a job in Rice's Market there, but I can't remember why he quit Rice's Market. Anyway, we went to moved to Kettleman City, and he had a job with as a night watchman at the Standard Oil plant there. And this is while World War I was going on. We had blackouts and rationing and
World War II, you mean?
Well, yeah, excuse me, World War II. And one night somebody shot at Daddy. Anyway, he thought they did. And that was the end of Kettleman City. Verna started to kindergarten in Kettleman City, and Keith was in 3rd or 4th grade. And so we moved back to Shandon. And we lived in a little old house on the alley, back of the red and white store.
Is that house still there?
Yes, it's been built onto.
Which house would that be?
Well,
if I go try to take a picture of it.
White, it's a white stucco, and you wouldn't recognize it for what it was then.
Is it across the street from where Annie Catherine used to live?
No, it's down that alley. It was on the alley.
That's the first house I remember. Is that house that was across the street from where Annie Catherine and Uncle Ernie used to live. They used to park their truck in the street there. That's the first house I remember. But anyway, go ahead with your story. Where is it from? Where is it from?
Oh, I know the one you're talking about. That was after we came back. No, yeah, that was after we moved to the Shaw place.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember that. Where would the stucco house on the alley? Where would it be from Grandma's house? From the big house across
the street, south towards Auntie Catherine's, only on the alley. Catherine's new house on the alley.
Okay, go ahead with the story.
Anyway. There, from that little house, we moved to what was known as the Shaw place. Emma Kester had a big ranch and an old house on it. We paid $25 a month. Daddy got a job at Safeway
in Paso Robles.
And Lloyd was born there. And I taught Sunday school in the Methodist church there, and we kept in touch with our Avenel friends. We were very close to the Avenel branch. And when it was time for Lloyd to be blessed, I asked them to come over to, and I cooked a dinner, and we had sacrament meeting in our house there. And Lloyd was blessed. Ernie was not eligible to do it. We lived at the Shaw place. We had no heat except the fireplace of the old wood stove. And we had nothing to pay except the electricity bills, because there's no gas, no water to pay. And we lived there from 42 to 45 when Mrs. Kester wanted to remodel a house for some of her relation, and we moved down on the alley, bought a little house that Papa had built there across from Auntie Catherine's where she lived. on the alley, and it had an upstairs garage where Ernie and Keith and Jim slept, and Verna slept over at Grandma's all of the time we lived in that place, and Lloyd slept in the bedroom with me. And it was very small and uncomfortable, but as long as he was working in Paso Robles, then we started looking for houses and finally decided to build. And so in 1946 we built our house at 1955 Olive, where we've lived ever since, except for the 4 years we lived in Morro Bay and 1 year in Lompoc. Is that enough?
That's pretty good. Tell us what you remember about Peggy being born. No, since you mentioned, well, you didn't say much about when Jim was born, did you? Where was Jim born? And then come back.
Jim was born in 1939 while I had the post office.
Oh, that's right. You did tell us that, didn't you?
I might say that while I had the post office, I had the two, Verna in 36, Jim in 39. And people in Shannon used to refer to me as their pregnant postmaster.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so proud of my family. Has such wonderful children. They're doing so well. All except Jim are good members of the church, raising their families in the church. So much. Daddy now is, you can't call him very active because he's really physically unable to be active, but he has had his turn in the early days of Paso Robles. Should I tell much about that?
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us about the church in your home. That's what I remember.
Yes. When we moved to Paso Robles, there had been a family, Clive and Lucille Riemann, he was the ag teacher and she was a school teacher in Paso Robles. They lived on the corner of 26th and Spring, and they'd been having church services in their home. It was while Camp Roberts was very active, and they moved to San Luis Obispo the same summer that we moved to Paso Robles in 1946. We overlapped about 6 weeks probably, so we went to services in their home when we first came to Paso Robles. But after they moved, there was no church services, and in a few months, President Godfrey and President Greenall, or Clive Riemann, came up and asked us if we would have church services in our home. So we did. Daddy bought a couple of old long benches that fit in our living room, and Sunday mornings we'd get up and straighten up the house, and we had as many as 60 people in our living room at one time. And President McConkie came, asked all the members in Tascadero who had been going to San Luis Obispo, and some of them held positions in San Luis Obispo branch, and asked them to come to a meeting. And at that time, Daddy was made an elder and put in a Sunday school superintendent. And we had branch Sunday school, branch of San Luis Obispo. And it wasn't long after that, just a few months till, well, it was when they asked the Tascadero people to come that we found a place to meet in Oak Park. And Lloyd remembers from then on, I think, pretty much of my family history.
Okay. Good. What do you think the future holds? What are your intentions for the next few years? What are your goals?
Well, I don't have too many years, I'm sure, being going to be 82, my next birthday in July, so I don't
don't make long-range plans.
I don't make long-range plans. I would love to travel if ever I don't have to take care of Daddy anymore, and visit my relatives, my family, and I don't know how much longer he'll be with us, but he's pretty healthy now, except for his blood pressure.
Come on, that's cool.
Let's get one more picture of you, okay?
Picture of me.
Yeah, come here and sit down, both of us.
Come sit down for just a minute.
One too many now.
Come on. This is different. Know what you're going to say?
Okay, I was just asking her what her plans for the future are. She says she's not making very many long-range plans. But how about you? What do you think your plans for the future are?
Well, man, keep healthy, keep smiling, do a good turn every day, make everybody happy around you, help your poor children, which are in poverty, and help the poor and the sick, the missionaries.
That's what you plan to
Do
do?
all the good we can do.
That's a good plan.
Do all the good we can do, because time's getting short.
You think so?
Yeah, time's getting short.
Oh, we certainly enjoyed our visit here, and Lloyd Maria's beautiful new home in Tempe, Arizona, at 8786 Maple Avenue.
8687.
8687 Maple
It's a
Avenue.
beautiful day in Arizona.
Okay.
We're on our way back to Paso Robles now.
Okay, and you're just getting ready to get in the car too, aren't you?
Right.
Okay, and here's Uncle Lloyd, just getting ready to go out the door. Okay, well, let's go ahead and finish up then and get out the door. Okay, thank you.
One little more.
You want to say something else? Okay.
Yeah.
Went to a doctor a while back, and he said, Ernie, you haven't got very much time left. I said, no, I know that, but I'm going to stay around and raise Cain while I'm able.
I'd like to ask you a couple of questions, talk to you a couple of minutes, and hear your voice on the tape. I was talking with my mom earlier and asking her some questions about her childhood, and there's some things she didn't remember. She didn't remember what her father did, or your father, in Iowa or Illinois or wherever it was, and what motivated him to move to California. Do you remember anything about that?
Well, as far as I can remember, it was he just wanted to branch out. He had worked as a farmer in Iowa, and when he came to California, he came to Rialto first, and there he helped put in the irrigation districts for the orange groves for about 2 years, and then he went to Modesto and bought a tract of 160 acres and developed that in the alfalfa.
Mm-hmm. And that's where my mom was born, when they lived in Modesto.
She was born there. And her sister Ida was born there in Modesto too. And he sold off 3 20 acres parcels, and then started a dairy on the rest of the 100 acres.
Okay.
And well, he went to Oregon and bought wild horses.
Bought wild horses in Oregon. I don't think I've ever heard that story.
And you know, that's pretty good. I can remember them when they, well, you broke them in, you know, too.
Hmm.
And then with his brother, Uncle Clark, Uncle was an auctioneer. And they would buy cattle and auction them off. And
This is in Modesto.
in Modesto. Well, that was about the time that you were born, see?
That would have been in Wood Colony, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, but
Then what prompted him to leave that and go to Fontana and Pomona?
Well, I never did know what the reason. He leased the 100 acres out, but the man that leased it failed to pay the rent. So he just kind of gave up on that. And then he went to, well, he moved from Wood Colony to 2 miles closer to town.
Mm-hmm.
And I graduated from high school at that time. And then he also started, he had a tractor and wood saw and a saddle pillar. And he went in that business for a while. Well, let's see now, what else will we do?
After you graduated from high school, you went to Southern California, Los Angeles, right? What'd you do there?
Well, I worked at a grocery store for a long time.
We helped Dad build a house first.
Yeah, I built the house first. Well, first we lived in Pomona for 6 months. Can you remember that, I guess?
Yes, I told about that.
And I never did know why he traded the ranch for, say, 15, 20, 35 acres of young orange groves. And he took care of those groves and for other people too. So that was until 1922, about 21. Well, in fact, I joined the Navy.
Yeah, tell us about you joining the Navy. That's an interesting story.
In 1916, I joined the Navy. And in August. But then the armistice was signed, you know, in 17.
No, it was 18.
18, yeah, that's right. And, yeah, I joined the Navy in 17 instead of 16.
So you never went anywhere in the Navy, huh?
No, I was stationed in San Diego, Balboa Park. And after I got out, I went home and worked at the store a while again. But I decided I wanted to be an auto mechanic. So I went to Los Angeles and took a course in auto mechanics at YMCA school. But when I got out, one man offered me a job where I'd work for nothing for a year. But I couldn't do that because I had to make a living for myself. And so I got a job at a grocery store. I was working in the front part in the bakery department. And the manager's daughter worked there too. So we got well acquainted and friendly. And in 1922 we were married.
Uh-huh. Did that, you continued to work in the store after that too?
Well, for a little while, but while I was working there was a man bringing eggs from San Fernando Valley, and he decided he wanted to sell out. So my father-in-law helped me out too by signing a Morris Plan loan to buy the business out in 1924. So I worked up a pretty good business by getting out and getting new customers too, besides the ones that were from the store. In fact, Albertson had 3 stores, and they used a lot of eggs.
Apple.
And, well, in fact, I had 3 men working for me.
Good.
In 27, 28, 29. But when the stock market crash came, so many stores and restaurants went broke that I had to, got down that I had to do this business myself. So I made a living at it.
Let me ask you a question. I was just talking with my mom. She remembers a time when she went, it was a big trip for her because she was a junior in high school. She took the train from San Luis Obispo and came down to visit you in Los Angeles. Do you remember that trip?
Oh yeah. That was after Keith was born, wasn't it?
No, it was when I was still in high school.
In high school, yeah.
I remember at the train depot, you didn't know me because Ron and I had bought new dresses in San Luis that as we traveled down on the train, they lengthened. They kept stretching. So they were down around our ankles when we got there, and I was quite tall. You hadn't seen me for several years.
No.
You didn't know who I was.
I can't remember that.
Okay. Okay, go back to where we were, 1924, or wherever we were. Go ahead and continue from there.
Let's see.
I guess we were all the way up to 29, 30 when so many people went out of business, so you went out of business yourself.
Well, then I kept up the egg business, so in 1944, and the Army took so many of the eggs that I didn't have enough to go around. So I quit the egg business.
What was your address then?
3046 Seventh Street. And, well, I bought a home in 1924. 25. Paid $7,000 for a home. And at 32nd Hoover. And then my wife died in 48.
What'd she die of?
She died of a back problem. They said at that time that there was no cure for it. But since that, there's been an operation. What did they call that? I can't remember now what she had, but she was paralyzed anyhow for 6 months. So then I was a bachelor for 8 years. In the meantime, I started painting houses.
Yeah, how'd you get in the house painting business?
Well, there was a man bringing peddling, which is what you call a, well then, no, it wasn't horse and buggy, but sold vegetables, you know, from house to house. And he'd seen me painting a neighbor's house, so he asked me if he'd come out to Beverly Hills and give him a price on his apartment house. So I did that, and it just started out that way, and then people, you know, would see me painting and come and if I could come and do a job for them.
This was during the Depression, or when was this during the 40s?
In the 40s, yeah.
In the 40s. Okay.
So then, that kept up for. I was still painting houses when I married Nancy. And had a couple men working part of the time. Made a living at it anyhow.
That's good. Go ahead with how you met. You started to tell us about that. You were a bachelor for several years?
Yeah, till I went to visit my mother at Shandon, California, and so she said that my cousin Nancy had come down to see her quite often. And well, it was after that, though, that she wrote and told me. She says, why didn't I call her up? So I did, and we had been, well, you can't say we went together when we were younger, but we went to dances, and she was about the same age as I am.
Well, she was your cousin.
What?
She was your cousin.
Yeah. Yeah, she was my father's cousin.
Your father's cousin?
Yeah. Second cousin. Once removed, I guess you call it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went up to see her then, and she invited me up to see her again.
Where'd she live?
In Santa Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
And so we corresponded and went to see each other for a couple of years. In 1956 we got married. She was retiring from school teaching. So we were married 26 years. Till, well, in fact, as I tell about this, I said to her one day, I said, you know, I'd like to have a house that it's a new house. Well, she says, why don't we sell out?
Where were you?
In Los Angeles.
You lived in Los Angeles, yeah.
In fact, we built an apartment house in the rear, too.
Mm-hmm.
And so we put our place up for sale and sold it in 3 days.
Wow.
And so then we then decided what we was going to do, where we'd live. In the meantime, I bought a lot in Yucca Valley. And I said, well, let's go out and to build a house out there. I'd get a new one. In fact, we did that. We built a new house, just finished. In 1964. So I've never had Social Security because in the business for myself, I didn't have to pay anything in, you know. So I worked in a grocery store and filling stations for 3/4 of a year.
Mm-hmm.
You had to, before you get Social Security. So I did that. And then in 1970, a cousin called up from Newport Beach that for him to come down and see him.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose she wanted me to paint the apartment or something, because he had an apartment house. But what it was she was a secretary for a hotel manager. I mean, a motel, not apartment manager place.
Apartment manager, yeah.
And the man that owned it needed a new manager because his sister managed the place, and she was turned sick. So we did that.
For how long?
For a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
We rented our house out, and that was in 1970 when it started. Rented our house out and moved down there.
Where?
To Los Angeles.
Newport Beach, right?
No, in Beverly Hills it was.
Oh, okay. Beverly Hills.
And 83-unit apartment to take care of. We didn't have to collect the rent so much, but because the management company done that, but we had to rent empties and take care of the apartment. So